everyone, it's Mandy with 2 E's, and you've come to my show, Simply Rent It, which is also the name of my business. I am your professional licensed rental consultant who has a deep passion for helping landlord investors save time, gain knowledge, and reduce risk without having to spend a ton of money hiring a full-time property manager. On this show, you'll learn all the tips and tricks you need for your investment property journey. On today's show, I thought we would cover 6 tips that you can use for your move out or your turnover, whatever you want to call it. When your tenant comes to the end of the lease and you need to get in there to do a checkout. It's getting really close to the end of July here in Ames, and that's when most of the leases in Ames ends, and so I thought this would be a good time to do this video. I realize now that probably at the beginning of the month would have been a better time, but no time is better than the present. So let's get into the first tip. The first tip is to communicate with your tenants and let them know your expectations and their expectations upon move out. If their lease ends at the end of July, but they have plans to move out earlier, that would be good for you to know, and that would be good for them to communicate with you. So if you haven't heard from your tenants yet, I would highly encourage you to just reach out via text, phone, email, whatever way of communicating you usually do, and just kind of see what their plans are. If they have any plans to move out early, that could work out in your favor as far as getting in there to do a checkout and making sure things are ready to go for the next person. And if they totally forgot that their lease ends at the end of the month, next month, and that they need to move out and because they haven't resigned and you have the place leased to somebody new, then that's also really good information for them to know. Sometimes that happens. I've actually run into this situation before, and it's no fun for the current tenant, but you work through it and you get through it with lots of communication, and you do what you can to kind of help the other person out too in that situation, just to be as helpful as possible. So the second tip I have for you is to provide them a list of items that you would typically check for upon move out. And this lets them know your expectations for move out. This could be a list of items that you check for cleaning wise, a list of items that you check for damage wise. I find that it's very helpful if they know what you're looking for, so that way they can be prepared and know that if they follow everything that you had in mind, that you'll have a good checkout process, they'll get their deposit back, and things tend to go more smoothly with more communication. Now, this isn't a list. I'm going to be very specific. This is not a list that you provide them that says, you're going to be charged X amount if you don't clean your oven. You're going to be charged X amount if you have a hole in the wall that's not repaired. That's not what this is for. This is just for extra communication, and by no means do I think that you should provide that type of information to your tenant. I think it sets the wrong tone. I don't think it's professional. So it's just for extra communication. The third tip that I have for you is to communicate what they're going to do with their belongings if they need a U-Haul to check into that early. There might still be time yet this year because of COVID-19 and everybody kind of moving out of town earlier than usual, but the U-Hauls here in town tend to fill up very quickly as far as rental trucks and rental trailers that you can use to move your belongings. And so it's important to communicate with your tenant, especially if they're moving early, that to reserve that truck or trailer for a couple extra days if they need it, because as you know, the July to August schedule here in Ames, sometimes people end their leases a little early so they have enough time to make sure the property is ready for the next person upon move-in for August 1st or even a little bit later. And that leaves quite a few people without a place to live for a few days, which is very frustrating. And I think that there should be a better way to go about this. People should be able to stagger. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like the town could do a little bit better as far as everybody being on the same cycle, figuring out and communicating so everybody's not homeless for a few days at the same time. And by homeless, meaning their lease has ended and they have a couple days where they have nowhere to stay. So the fourth tip that I have for you is to think about cleaning. You need to prepare for extra cleaning if necessary. So if you are someone who's not going to do that, you don't have any desire to clean up after somebody else's mess, I completely understand that. It's not my forte either. I would do it if I absolutely had to, but I'm somebody who would much rather hire somebody to do that. So, and to make sure it's done professionally. Also, you want to make sure that you're making sure that everything's sanitized and ready to go for next year. So when I say prepare, I think that you should reach out to a few different cleaners if you don't already have one on hand. If you have one on hand, double check their prices. They may have gone up because of needing to do more sanitation because of COVID-19. And a lot of times the regular rates of cleaning do go up during this time because of the demand. The demand is so high for cleaners because everybody tends to have the same move out date. All right, so the fifth tip I have for you is to check around for carpet cleaning companies just in case you need to have the carpets cleaned. If they are really, really dirty, they get vacuumed or anything like that, it's a good idea to just check around with carpet cleaning companies to see what their charges are, what their availability is, if they'll be able to get you in or not if needed. A lot of times tenants tend to take care of those things on their own, which is great, but sometimes you run into situations where people who moved out and they've left things behind and the carpet is really has high traffic patterns and it's really, really dirty, and a vacuum won't get the job done. So it's important to look into that information ahead of time so you're not trying to scramble last minute. Which brings me to the next tip is to, the sixth tip is to prepare for supplies that you might need ahead of time. This is totally optional, but if you have more than one rental, it could be very helpful for you to gather supplies such as batteries for smoke detectors or thermostats, and drip pans if you need to replace those drip pans. Sometimes cleaners won't do that, it's not included, so that's another thing that you should be talking about with your cleaners. And I would like to backtrack just to what I said about people leaving things behind. Sometimes I didn't include this in one of the tips, but it's important for you to know what you're going to do with that, the tenants' belongings that they left behind. Maybe it's stuff they forgot, so you should reach out and ask them. Maybe it's stuff that they absolutely don't want, and so you can get rid of it. But then you need to figure out how you're going to get rid of it, and if it's a lot of things, you need to look into maybe somebody that can help you haul those things out. Sometimes large items are left, like beds, furniture, sofas, things like that. So it's important to prepare ahead of time so you know what you're going to do if you run into a situation. Hopefully your checkouts will go smoothly and you won't have any of that to worry about. But the biggest tip I can give you is just to communicate with your tenant, make sure you guys are both on the same page, and hopefully everyone is happy in the end as far as move-outs go. So I wish you luck on your move-outs, and I wish you luck for filling your vacancies for August. I'm very excited that ISU is going to open up their campus and that people are coming back into town. So that's very, very exciting for everyone that has a vacancy for August. And if you need any additional help, if you're a single landlord investor and you need some help with advertising or showings, filling your vacancy for August, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I'm happy to help you fill that vacancy. So I post new videos every Friday. If you like the content in this video or any other video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you again next Friday. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.